Our heroes have been summoned to a feast by Queen Talandia Edisril of the Elven nation of Kyonin in recognition of their pure happenstance arrival at the nick of time on Lantana Beach, where they repelled a Grave Knight Dragon Rider-led invasion. Fancy tables, piled high with artistically arranged food, await deeper in the garden, but for now, the heroes mingle with courtiers and nobles of the Elven court, awaiting the call to dinner. Friendly elves gently lead each of you off into separate conversations, all while your guide Dalamian looks on with a protective smile and through subtle gestures to the serving staff ensures no one is herded too far away. Libbiel, was it? Oh, you're the spitting image of Shyenra. Welcome home. Oh, what a magnificent bee. I take it you take after your father's magical studies?
She looks confused at this woman and like, I I was really young when they passed away, so I had no clue that father was magical at all.
Oh, he was quite the experimenter when it came to, oh, various types of illusion magic, especially those that he used with his familiar.
Father practiced hexes and witchcraft as well.
No, he was more of the scholarly wizardly type, but he still loved his rabbit familiar very much.
Libbiel looks up at Bumblebee and tries to imagine Bea as a bunny. No, I don't think that would have worked.
And while we are talking here, what does Libbiel look like, all dressed up for this party?
Libbiel decided to get some very, very fancy clothes. She's dressed in like the colors of moonlight and darkness, with a fancy hat trimmed in silver to match her complexion. And it has been enchanted by her patron through her pack to have the flowing script that confuses the eyes. But right now, I assume it's being benign and just drawing interest more than trying to confuse and confuddle. She looks really, really nice, but on the inside, she's screaming. She doesn't think she looks good.
And the lady turns to you for more. Tell me, so with your expertise in magical studies, what do you think is the best way we can deal with this fog and magical intrusions of the Whispering Tyrant?
For fog and magical intrusions, the way I would have tried to deal with it was to have you sought to see if there's a source through perhaps divinations?
Ah, so you would spy on the Whispering Tyrant. Very bold,
Yes,
very bold. How are you liking
perhaps.
your return visit to Kyonin?
I I I wasn't born here. I was born during the travels from here to Osprey from my parents. So this is more like a first meeting of the homeland of my parents, more than a return for me.
Well, well then, what are your first impressions?
It's beautiful and unlike anything I've ever seen. However, it might be a touch loud for me. I like things kind of quiet.
And we are a boisterous people here. We love our parties and our songs. But
Yes,
still,
I can tell. She has very cleverly disguised them, but she has earplugs in.
well, it was wonderful to meet you, and it is like seeing the past come back. Of course, merged in weird ways. Never would have seen Shalyenra with an animal, but she was always so stately. It is good to see you, and enjoy your stay.
I
And now,
will do my best. Thank you.
next up is the group talking with Vanarel. And a slightly more drunk partygoer is approaching you. Vanarel, I've never seen an orc with such scaling before. Is this some type of battle scarring or some other cultural tradition? Does it have any special meaning?
Oh, well, battle scarring might be the easiest way to describe it. Let's just say I got this in another life.
Oh? That sounds
Yes,
exciting.
yes. Uh, well, maybe the story is experiencing it wasn't too fantastic as I remember it. Unfortunately, I at one point got a bit overwhelmed during a fight on a ship, and I was run through and felled by a shiver of, uh, I believe they're called sea devils.
That is.
The the favors that were called in changed me a bit from my original ancestry of that of an elf with this Dromar heritage to what you see today. I'm told it is the body of a Vishkanya.
Oh, so
Um,
you used to be an elf? I thought as. Well, I was wondering why you had an elven name, but. Oh, have you given any thought to being a spy? It seems like you could get to places many of us couldn't.
well, I'm really more of a shipwright, but I'm not opposed to the idea, I suppose. Why? What have you heard?
Oh,
Venom will lean in a bit.
oh, I mean, we're worried about the Whispering Tyrant, and he has had various orc subordinates in the past, and that makes it very hard for us to infiltrate his organization. But with an elf in an orc's body, who knows what we could do?
Well, I suppose that's true. I mean, I've never been a stranger to attempting to blend in with the surrounding areas. It does feel kind of nice to be home, so to speak.
And, well, this might be the opposite direction from being a spy, but I also heard you dabbled in dragon riding. Would you want to try it again in a more friendly setting?
Yes. In a more friendly setting, for sure. My first experience with dragon riding was a bit rough.
So I heard, but it almost sounded planned, like it let you get the killing blow so easily. You mean that was not your intention?
Well, on the battlefield, strategies come up quickly, sometimes on the fly.
And while this discussion is going on, what does Vanarel look like in his festival garb?
Well, Vanarel took the warnings of the elves a bit more serious, and he went out and got some very fancy clothes. So this is not something he's normally wearing, and I'm not 100% certain he's moving quite as naturally as he normally does. But he has a very nice, very well fitted, sort of blue and purple suit here, with a nice like cream scarf that hangs down to about the waist on around each side of his neck, and he's feeling pretty good. Although every so often you see he reaches or stretches in just such a way, and like the jacket sort of like rides up in the back. And he's enjoying this party though for sure,
And
trying
we
to make sure he maintains a smooth and handsome and comfortable appearance while being about 60% of that in actuality.
and we will segue over to the uh, other male orc dressed very, very dashingly for this one who actually might be moving the way you wish you were moving it, I believe, with a sense of confidence and comfort. Daegron,
Yeah,
you definitely stand out here. Oh, go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say, yeah, if as he kind of like comes towards him, you can see Daegron is like a tall, muscular orc, and where he's normally wearing this like half plate with like leathers and things that seem very suited for the coastal origins he had. Now he's wearing kind of a very, well, it's not simple. It's more reserved, and it's a black dress coat with very like minimal gold filigree around the cuffs and down the front. He's got his hair in a bit more of a presentable fashion, whereas usually it's a bit more wild and let loose. He's got it kind of pulled back and slicked as much as he can. And as usual, he keeps in his one ear his silver earring with the moon with a nautical compass in the middle of it.
So another one of kind of the slightly more Bravos type courtiers here is coming up to you, and oh, it's not every day we see an orc dressed so magnificently. You move with such comfort and ease. Surely you must have served as an officer in some army or mercenary band before.
Oh, officer, no, I was just a rank and file in a mercenary troop. But I've got to say, it's much lighter and easier to move in this than my usual fare. So it's nice to get out of the armor from time to time.
Still, with your eye for combat, what do you think? What should we be on the lookout for in terms of the next acts of aggression coming from the Whispering Tyrant?
Well, he has easy access by the waterways. I think having your stationed siege weapons as you did is something to be said. Possibly watchtowers and the like along the coastline as well, but I know you already have quite a few defenses. I believe that he is still probing, seeing if he can find a weakness. While it was a quick and quite powerful raid that came in, it didn't seem to have a goal beyond punching through and possibly doing some recon. I think as you are right now, as long as you keep those efforts going, I think you'll be able to hold him. Where it goes from there, I mean, that is far beyond just Kyonin's worry.
And they nod, and they're looking a little worried. Not like they distrust you or don't like the answer, but the fact that you gave such a realistic answer rather than just blindly assuring them it will be okay, it might be getting through to them that there is a real problem here.
Yeah, I think whereas he's maybe moving with the confidence and the feeling very well in his fancier dress he has here, I think he is still a pretty straight shooting, no muck soldier, and maybe the courtly nobles aren't quite as used to that.
And we'll turn to the fourth group around little Dezi. Oh, Dezi, such amazingly red hair. Everyone here will be dyeing their hair to match. It's just so vibrant and different, and not at all like those overly flamboyant gnomes. Any secrets?
Well, yeah, you have to brush for at least 10 minutes a day or it just pops everywhere. I spent a lot of time getting it to lay flat, but I managed it today just for this event.
We all heard
You
how...
see,
Oh, go ahead, yeah.
I figured this is a good time for a description. You see a halfling with bright red hair that is in curls, but managed to lay fairly flat right now, a little bit longer. They're a lithe halfling, actually part elf, and are dressed in what looks like traveler's clothes, but obviously meant for court. So they're very fancy, and they very prominently displayed a glowing symbol on their chest of a road winding into the sunrise.
We all heard how you blew away all the shadows almost by yourself. Are you like a secret high priest?
Oh, I no, I can't take credit for that. Libby did a lot of that work, but I do follow the deliberate journey. We advocate for safe journeys and safe passages, and I've had a lot of practice with my crossbow as well. So I was able to shoot some of the shadows, but mostly, shadows don't tend to like holy power, and I don't know, priest might be the right word. More a journeyman and traveling worshiper.
And so what are your views on Callistria?
Oh, I mean, she's interesting, I guess. The deliberate journey more focuses around Desna and some of the other deities. But Clostria is, I mean, I haven't made a study of her, and I don't want to talk out of turn. It's really her worshippers' job to describe what they want from her.
Well, with your priestly knowledge, do you think we have a chance at stopping the next invasion?
I mean, I'd have to study the situation more. It seems like you have good defenses set up here. It'd be nice to know where that fog came from and what it's made of and how they control it, because it seems like them disguising their moves through the fog does make things more dangerous.
Maybe more weather magic. That may help. And they kind of go
Yeah,
off
that
to
could
talk
work.
amongst themselves. I'd like a skill check from all four of you. This can be any of the social skills, basically: deception, diplomacy, intimidate, performance, whatever you kind of think best fit your discussion with the various people you talk to. You could also probably use religion in the case of Dezi there. Maybe a warfare style lore or similar lore for the more martial people. Just a check to show how well you comported yourself while dealing with the courtiers.
Would society be applicable?
Sure.
Would you like this to be a public roll or
Public is
a
fine.
secret? Okay.
Okay.
I refuse.
Let's see.
Well, I was gonna. You didn't have to re-roll that. You had a success as it is. Okay, you have a critical
Oh.
success now.
That
Like,
was such a bad roll. I know I
that
can
was important to you, so you used it. Yes. Okay. So we're still waiting on Daegron, I believe.
Just diplomacy. Nothing.
Yep. Okay. So Dezi and Libbiel managed to thoroughly impress the people they were talking to. Vanarel and Daegron, a little bit not so much. Not in a way that caused any problems, but it does seem they are more impressed with Libbiel and Dezi. They're more impressed with the visibly elven half of the party, which maybe is not surprising. But as this is going on, Dalmian walks back up to you and says, "It is time for the feast. Please follow me." And she leads you to what is obviously the center and largest table. The four of you are seated basically two each on each side of the queen, who's in the middle, and you're a 5-person table. Great wooden gates made of the intertwined branches of living trees swing open and allow a flock of songbirds to flutter forth. Their song adds to the melody of the performers, heralding Queen Talindia Edisaril's arrival at the celebration. As she makes her way to the table, exchanging pleasantries with all the assembled guests, everyone else finds their seats. The formal dinner begins, and it is many, many courses of a truly amazing food. There's a crisp autumn salad with roasted pine nuts, gently braised venison cutlets and a rich wine sauce, and a delicate honey lattice made to look like the queen's crown, atop a scoop of emerald mint sorbet. And at different points throughout, the queen does turn to each of you and asks you one at a time to recount the tale firsthand of what happened on the beach and something notable you've done in the past. And this time we'll go in backward order, starting with Dezi.
Ah, yes. Well, at the beach, we arrived. It seems like just in time as the catapults were being set up, but the shadows started storming the beach. We moved forward to intercept them, and through, especially at range, myself and Libbiel were able to use some spells to really weaken them before they made it to shore. After dispatching them, unfortunately, a large, I think, undead dragon and his undead knight took us a little by surprise, but we were able to regroup, Vanarel bravely defeated the dragon, and Daegron and a few of the rest of us were able to dispatch the knight. And we're familiar more with dealing with demons, I must say. We encountered Demon Lord Urkshul and his minions out in the Vinendale forest a while back, and we're studying ways to banish him back from where he came, and we're able to do that with the help of the Pathfinder Society.
And how would you like to be addressed?
Well, I'm obviously a follower of the deliberate journey, but I'm also a scholar. I'm well versed in demonology and cult practices, and fairly knowledgeable in arcane studies as well. But I mean, we've had so much practice battling too. I guess Dezi of the deliberate journey is fine.
My thanks to you, Dezi of the Deliberate Journey. You have extreme bravery and done a great service to Kyonin. And give me another skill check, probably diplomacy for what you were doing there.
Sure.
Okay. That would be a
Hero
failure,
point.
you would know.
Halfling luck.
Okay.
Five into 5. Yep. So
next.
19 total.
Up next will be Libbiel.
I thought we were doing in reverse order.
I'm doing in the order I have under the screen now.
10-4. So Libbiel has actually been incognito using a telekinetic hand to help everyone figure out which fork and spoon to use at their proper times and keep them all within courtly manners. And been very, very, like, just on the sly, helping them keep themselves polite and putting the best foot forward possible. So when she's addressed, she kind of jumps. What?
Yes, Libbiel, welcome to the court. Please introduce yourself to the rest of the courtiers here and how you would prefer to be addressed in the future.
Oh, I'm Libbiel. I go by Libby from my friends. I'm not really much on like a formality or standing or anything. You can just call me the Bee Witch, Libby. I'm fine with that.
Well, my thanks to you, the Bee Witch Libby. You have done a great service to Kyonin. And for your check, I can take society, I could take diplomacy, I could take your magical discipline for how well behind the scenes your telekinetic hand is helping out.
About hypercognition, I do all of those.
Sure. It's not quite a recall knowledge, but I'll still allow it here. If you're in overdrive trying to keep everyone from making a mistake.
Her brain's going a mile a minute, I'm sure. So here is her managing her friends with the telekinetic hand. Here's her knowing the proper manners in the first place, which is pretty low roll for her.
It's a success in this case.
And this is her trying to keep conversation going at the same time.
Libby is doing a great job multitasking. The Queen is looking fairly impressed at how well you are presenting yourselves to the court, in spite maybe all of your eccentricities as a party. Daegron, it is your turn to take the floor. Tell us who you are, how you like to be addressed, and what you stand for.
He kind of like you see he was kind of like moving his hands over the different forks and looking at Libbiel as he's waiting for one to kind of move. He kind of gets caught off guard for a second. He's, oh, yes. Daegron Wavebreaker of Chakakoth Isle. I have not been in any place quite as regal and beautiful as this before, and I don't know if my soldier's mannerisms will suit you as well as my friend Libbiel and Dezi here, but I think Dezi gave a good recounting of what happened on the beach. It was a valiant effort by both your soldiers and my friends here. I believe it's important that we stand against such things as the encroaching of the Whispering Tyrant and the ongoing affairs of the demon lords that seem to be ever threatening us. That is how we kind of came to be. I'm not sure how much has been told to you, but our Isle of home, Chakakoth, was invaded by a cult of sorts that seek to overthrow the towns and drown us all in demons. We came together, fought them off, and, well, we've found our way across the continent, and we find our way here, battling demons and undead the whole way. I hope to continue doing such things and liberating those we can who seem to be under the constant threat from these creatures. It doesn't sit well with me, and I think my friends feel similarly.
I thank you as well, Daegron Wavebreaker of Chakakoth Isle. You have done a great service to Kyonin. And you can give me your diplomacy check or something else that you thought was doing that.
I think diplomacy would do it.
Okay. And Vanarel, it is your turn.
Well, Your Majesty, I am, by birth, I'm Vanarel Kibranina, a sailor. When it comes down to it, I've never thought of myself as very special or outstanding. I've found, at least in these experiences, that my greatest strength has been the ability to support my companions, my friends who have been on this journey with me. That's where I find to be my greatest strength is learning from and working together with them. It has, as Daegron said, it's taken us a long way from Chakakoth Isle, and I've had some successes and some failures along the way. But I do feel that when the evils that we've come up against have pressed us, it's all of us together. I think that has been our greatest strength, and I think it's also something that can be employed now with this this whispering tyrant that seems to be breathing down all of our necks here.
And she turns to you. I thank you, Vanarel Kilbereth, for your services to Kyonin. I am truly amazed at how humble and self-supporting all four of you are. You each sought to praise the others of your group. That makes me very happy and pleased to see such support. She then turns to the whole group, all the courtiers, everyone here. My friends, both new and old, thank you for attending this soiree in celebration of our newest friends. You've heard their heroics. You've talked with them. You've laughed with them. We are truly blessed by their fortunate arrival, and further blessed by their quick resolution of the situation on Latana Beach. I had planned to name them all Elf Friend, but that seems wrong when 3 of them are elves already, and singling out noble Daegron would feel unjust. Instead, we revive an ancient custom and name them the founding members of their own new knightly order. In further recognition of your heroics and your service, we offer these gifts. 3 cheers for the heroes of Greengold. And the crowd here all breaks out into much applause, and 4 baskets are brought out to you, one each. Of course, I have it as a single treasure chest here. Let me move this so it's a little easier to get to. Oh, I can't actually look at it. There we go. Here we go. The Queen's Gifts. So these are 4 baskets. There are 2 weapon potency +2 runes. There is a Crown of Witchcraft and a Shadow Signet. There are 12 different consumables, 2 potions of flying, 4 elixirs of life moderate, 2 potions of resistance, an infilating arrow, a potion of minute echoes, a vanishing coin, and a spun cloud red. These are the Queen's gifts to you all. If you can't tell who was roughly intended for each of them, please let me know. I think it might be obvious, at least for the major pieces.
I think Vanarel is supposed to get the Crown of Witchcraft, right?
It's gonna look great
He's
on
been
me.
looking a little witchy.
Yeah.
It's the suit.
Oh, the Shadow Signet
just-
is interesting.
I like that.
So it looks
And
like
quickly
Daegron's
run
grabbed
around.
one of the +2s. I expect Vanarel to grab the other one.
I'm assuming, yeah, the crown for the witchcraft and the shadow signet aren't for him.
Yeah, and you each get an elixir of life. Both marshals were supposed to get the potion of flying and the potion of resistance. The infilating arrow and the minute echoes is for Dezi. The vanishing coin and the spun cloud were for Libbiel. But people can swap things around. No one would be offended if you swap gifts. Just don't do it right in front of her.
What'd you
Right,
get?
right.
You want to trade?
And
It's gonna be super embarrassing if we wind up get caught regifting at the next major dinner.
the Queen, again gives you all a very warm smile and a heartfelt thank you and a goodbye as she leaves ahead of the rest of the group here filtering out. Dalamian will come back over to you to actually let me get Dalamian's picture up on the screen now instead of the Queen's. There we go. So Dalamian will come back over to you all and say, I assure you, the honor that was bestowed, the privilege to found your own knightly order is no small offering. Though, if you do not wish it, no one would be offended. It is up to you if you wish to formally claim a name and establish the charter and all such things that come with a knightly order. But for now, I think there are other things we will need to discuss. But please, feel free to consider that at your leisure. I am told that we are headed back to Green Gold in the morning on a most important matter that will be explained when we reach there.
Nothing as pressing as our arrival on that beach, I hope.
I am told something important will be starting the day after tomorrow. The full details, though, I have not yet been told, which is surprising.
Okay.
And so you can also all freely, you can even put the +2 rune on your weapons. You can assume there's a blacksmith here who will handle that for you after the party, so you don't need to wait on that. Anything else you want to do at the party, or are we fast forwarding back to Green Gold in the morning?
I assumed that we'd perhaps be asked to make a demonstration, but I think we could probably skip that.
I kind of want to use Read the Air to just read the social situation to kind of get a vibe for what the political implications are, if that makes sense.
Sure. So put the spell into chat so I can see how it works and what type of skills might need to be rolled. You recall knowledge using society. Okay.
Also, I'd love to do biographical eye on the Queen.
Sure.
Now that we've formerly met. Here's the full text, but here's the check for you.
Yep. I'm gonna handle read the air first, then I'll come back to yours. Even though I know you rolled first, but I'm just gonna do these in order. Let's
And
see.
for
So Dezi, you're not really sure what the immediate political situation here is. All you can tell with this is that there seems to be many layers going on here. You can tell that the queen is attempting to hide something. You don't think out of a sense of maliciousness or even opportunistic. It feels like there's something very important, or maybe multiple things very important, that she is juggling and trying to ensure that details of them don't leak out prematurely. You can't tell how much of your celebration and elevation here is meant to misdirect from another problem, or how much it is meant to prepare you to deal with a new problem. Libbiel, with biographical eye,
Yeah.
so you know that she is a queen. That's her profession. You know that she is a very skilled wizard of some variety. And it seems like with a focus on protective wards and other things of that nature, seems to have formed the mainstay of her studies.
Okay.
And and you learn where they live within the settlement. Yes, they live here in the capital.
I was going to ask if she's known for any specific accomplishments or a scandal, mostly.
No scandals that you've heard of. I mean, all elves can be a little flighty at times, but she's been a very steady ruler for a very long time here.
Okay.
Much loved by the elven population, almost to the point that sometimes she can feel a little off-put by how much they tend to venerate her. And she does try to redirect that toward heroes like yourselves, possibly sometimes, to take the attention off of her, or back to the deities where she often thinks this adoration should be going.
Yeah, a lot of the rest of that I could guess. All right, so we should probably have a bigger, longer talk about that Knight's Order thing. I am not explicitly against it if you guys want to go for it.
I mean, I think I'd like to know more about what being a elven knight entails, but it seems like an honor that it would be polite to accept. If
I
it
think
makes
it's
sense.
more that we would be recruiting a Knight's Order.
It seemed to me like they were declaring us part of an order. Is Delemian with us? Is she accompanying us back or no?
At present, no. It looks like she was called for a late night meeting with the queen. So she will see you in the morning when you head back to Greengold. But
maybe we should have a longer talk with her. I think knowing what exactly that means would be useful.
It's certainly interesting, but I don't know. As you said, Dezi, we should find out more. I imagine founding an order of knights comes with more than a few responsibilities.
Not responsibilities I wouldn't shy away from, though.
Oh,
do I know anything about this? Like, is this a society check to know what's
you
included?
You can give me a society check on that, yes.
Can I aid that as society
Sure.
check?
Make one if you want.
Here's my aid check.
So that is a critical success on the aid. So that's a +3 on a natural 1. So I'm not going to give you false information. You just don't know. This is
okay.
She described it as an ancient custom. So you know what knightly orders might be in other places, but you don't know what an elven knightly order is. You don't know why it's maybe fallen out of use here. But the
Should have declared my scholarly recollection to roll twice. I didn't think of that. Oh well.
but the best guesses is it does seem like it would imply some amount of recruiting and training other people, because it wasn't like declaring you some special named adventuring party, which would not seem to have that type of commitment to grow the order in some way. You would suspect it probably would have some tie back to Kyonin as a patron, some expectation of aid toward Kyonin, but exactly what the levels of support from the crown or the duties to the crown, you don't know, and you're just kind of spitballing off of what knightly orders look like in other kingdoms. They often are
Okay.
more standalone than the full army or the Queen's Guard, but they are still part of the kingdom's apparatus.
All right. Well, I guess we turn in early. I would like to spend a little bit of time crafting more of that Mr. Potato Head doll for our friend
Sure,
whose name escapes me.
Amka,
Amka.
if you want to give me
Here
the
you go,
crafting
Amka.
check. It's getting better. You still don't think it's probably as good as you'd want, but you are getting better at crafting some interchangeable arms and bodies. It's still a little troll-like, it's still a little ugly though, but the mechanisms are coming along.
I presented to Amka and being like, prototype 2. We're still working on it. What do you think?
I I like the variety of arms. I think that's good. It still looks a little bulbous and like the trolls that I don't want to be associated with. But if you're working from the inside out, I think that's coming along. I still I'm still unsure about the whole how do I protect myself. I know you're saying just be friendly to people, and I'm not used to that yet. Weapons seem
Well,
better, or charming seems better.
you did watch from the little purse I brought with me, right? How we made friends with everybody there, how they seemed to like us more, and how
That
powerful they were.
that is true, and they seem to all ask interesting questions. Maybe ones that were not obvious. Maybe that's part of the secret is finding things to ask people. Hmm.
So the path to infinite knowledge is knowing what questions to ask.
I will keep thinking on that, and you will keep working on that doll for me.
Yes, I will.
Dezi will cast a dream message before bed just to let his father know that they're in Kyonin now and got to meet the queen, and he's pretty excited, but that they haven't heard word or haven't had a chance to ask about his mother.
And I don't. I think we've already asked, but I think Dream Message does not let you get anything back from the father, right?
No, it's one way. Yeah.
Yeah. I might say there's some emotional spillover that you receive that seems a little incredulous at the story, meeting the queen and all.
Well,
But
It's fair. We've come a long way, in a very short period of time.
anything from Daegron or Vanarel? You've been a little bit quiet.
No, I think for Daegron, it was a case of possibly that's what Dezi was observing earlier as he was kind of picking up the cues. I think he was doing some basic mingling, not drinking as much as they did the other night. Figures it might be better to keep it in line here, but I think he is going around and just mingling, talking, maybe not always getting the right social cues and things like that, but doing his best to kind of fit in.
Yeah, and I think Vanarel is again sort of doing the light mingling as well. Uh, Maybe trying to ask around a bit about this uh, the Heroes of Green Gold title. Just trying to learn a bit more about that, since well, he is relatively speaking, he is new in town. It certainly feels like an honor, but it's one he would like to know a bit more about. If there's any of the uh, just well-read Elven party guests that are still here that might be able to get him some info on that.
Yeah, I can take a society check or a diplomacy check on that. Or if you had any sort of elven lore, that would also be allowed.
I don't have an elven lore specifically, but he is relying on his good social graces, be that as they may, and the nice suit. Hopefully,
Yeah, the people you talk with don't seem to have a lot of information in terms of the knightly titles they're being offered. The Hero of Green Gold seem like that's independent of this offer to found an Order of Knights. That's just recognition of the fact that you saved the town by repelling that undead invasion. And you are noticing that from everyone's words, so everyone here at least thinks you just miraculously appeared at the right time. No one here seems to know about the fact that the Queen kind of helped you get there quickly. So it seems like she is keeping this, and Dalamian has not been correcting people. It does feel like that's part of this story to make sure you all look good, is you just miraculously appeared at the beach at the right time and saved the day, and without trying to imply that the Queen had any hand in it. So, and none of you mentioned that during your talk, so you've kept that story going, maybe without even knowing that's what she was trying to do. But Vanarel, you've picked that up from your conversation here, that no one at this party was even mentioning something along those lines. So they all seem to think you were just passing through by happenstance.
okay. Well, he's not going to correct anyone on that. He'll just sort of let that slowly sink in.
So the night passes, and the four of you board a carriage back to Green Gold in the morning along with Dalamian. When the carriage is underway, she does look around and gestures you all to kind of lean in a little closer for a discussion in what's hopefully a very private situation.
Like in her personal space, she just gives her beer and just listens through shared senses.
And Dalamian is used to you doing this from the month's journey you had to get here, so she understands and doesn't think anything of it. There is a council coming starting tomorrow. All of the nations that border Lake Encarthan. The Queen has been arranging this for quite some time in hopes of arranging a treaty of some time, hoping to unite the seven nations against the Whispering Tyrant. She has asked me to ask you to be the Kyonin delegates to this council and represent the goals of Kyonin. This is a little unusual. However, all of the delegates coming are those trusted by their leaders, but are not themselves high-ranking individuals. We were worried if Tarbafon got word of a gathering of high-ranked individuals, he would know what is happening. Thus, we would like to ask you to be our representatives here.
So proxies, so then that nobody catches on to the exact purpose of the meeting.
Exactly.
I think I understand. Is there a missive we should pass along, or are we making this up as we go?
Oh, yes. First, you will be considered the hosts of the meeting. I will be around to advise as needed. But here is let me share this with you all. These are the 4 articles of the alliance we wish to have signatories on. A writ of non-aggression. Basically, no signed nation will take actions against the other nations. A mutual aid. Codifies free or greatly discounted material aid to be provided to the nations in crisis. A self-defense agreement. So if one is attacked, all will respond. And finally, Article 4, a conquest accord. sets forth the terms for an actual invasion of the Whispering Tyrant area. We agree to all 4 of these ahead of time. That is the view of Kyonin. We would like to see how many of the nations you can get to agree to these terms. We expect most will be willing to sign Article 1 almost immediately, but the other 3 are likely to all have some complications.
It does make
Okay.
sense. Yeah, I mean, uniting against the Whispering Tyrant would be a noble goal.
So the other parties we're going to be interacting with, are they renowned adventurers from these lands, or?
They are a mix. They are also arriving today, and we will have the formal kickoff of the conference tomorrow. And you will meet them
So
all
this,
them. But the nations that are involved, we will have Druma, Malthun, Nirmathos, the Knights of Lastwall, Ustalav, and Razmirin.
okay. Can I get that posted somewhere? um, but can I ask what venue we are planning to arrange this meeting in?
We will be heading back to the Vionin estates, where you stayed the first few nights in Greengold. Each of those small manor houses will be used by one of the delegates. You will have your belongings moved to the main manor house as the hosts, however. So that was this area over here on the map.
Oh. Okay.
Wouldn't it be a better look if we stayed in one of the manor houses and just used the main household as a...
There might not be any room.
There are 7
fair.
total nations, 6 visiting. You're the host. We have six
Fair
palaces,
enough.
mini
Fair
palaces
enough.
here. It is the best we can do. The way...
Sorry,
Go ahead.
it was Druma, Malthun, Knights of Lastfall, us. Who were the other 3?
So, yeah, Druma, Malthun, Nirmathos, Lastwall, Ustalav, and Razmirin. So if you're familiar with these, I'll give some background because your characters probably would know a little bit about these. Druma is... Actually, let me go back to Encarthan region. That's probably better. We'll use this map. There we go. So Druma's to the south. They do share a border with Kyonin. They are a very mercantile-based country. The prophets of Kalistrad are kind of the lead powers there. This is a very wealth above all, but at the same time, typically very humble and aesthetic in their own use of wealth. They do view wealth as the way you get to the best afterlife, but they do not tend to flaunt their wealth. They don't tend to abuse their wealth, but they are very much money hungry. So that's kind of what they're known for. They are some of the best traders in this area. Next over, Malthun. Malthun is a naval powerhouse, or at least they were. They've been losing some of their sway as the death barges are taking over the lake more and more. They are more militaristic than some of these other ones, and very, very patriotic. Nirmathos, right to the north of them, this is a recent breakaway from Malthun, and there may be some bad wishes there that will need to be addressed. It is it's a human-centric, not human-centric, it's a very human-predominant area, but otherwise very much like Kyonin. So very small settlements, lots of rangers, lots of kind of very small communities, very Arastilian probably, a very kind of classic medieval countryside feel. The Knights of Lastwall, of course, are from the Gravelands, but no longer in the Gravelands. They are the stereotypical shining knights, knights in shining armor. They were the main defenders against Tarbathon. They lost their home when he came back into force now. They are trying to regain it. They are definitely a well-prepared military designed for anti-undead operations. Ustalav is a very Transylvania-coded area, all dark and dreary, lots of undead known to be in power, slightly oppressive, small settlements. Everyone's afraid to go out at night because of all the evil creatures that prowl the woods. But it still is a functioning society that interacts with the rest of the world. They're not as closed off as, say, Nidal, which is maybe a similar feeling country further to the west of here. And then you have Rezmirin, which, like Druma, is very mercantile, very money-centric. Also a maybe best compared to an MLM. You seem to advance up the clergy. The more money you spend, the more money you give. It is a very wide gulf between the have-nots and the haves in that country. Is that enough of a background for these countries for you all?
That's good for me.
Yeah.
You would also know that the tensions here ahead of time. You would know that Multhun and Nirmathos are a little bit of, a little bit at odds. Nirmathos seems to be a rebel province that mostly is recognized as its own country at this point, but Multhun probably would not agree with that. Razmirin has always had some barges, faith barges they call them, that other countries often consider pirates. So there is some tension between Rezmirin and most of these other ones. Other than that, that's kind of the low-level ground vibe that you would kind of know just offhand.
Okay.
And let's see, first hour is over. Let's give a hero point to someone. Who would I want to give this one to? I'm going to say Libbiel on the basis of that hypercognition use to juggle multiple things and keep the rest of the party from making a mistake. There you go.
I think I'm going to pass it over to someone else.
Okay, I will click
think
that away. Who would you like to give it to instead?
Vanarel.
Vanarel. Okay, Vanarel has an extra hero point now. I've assigned that.
Really good in the actual explanation of things for Vanarel's character.
Oh, thanks, Libby.
So, when you arrive back at Green Gold, you have a couple of hours before the evening. Are there any things you would like to do to get ready for this council of alliance building?
I'm going to check the alcohol and go and buy the cheapest swill I can find. Because I'm sure they don't actually have that here.
Okay. Yes, they have good alcohol here.
Dezi's going to figure out where the library is and do some research on these nations as best they can before tomorrow.
Okay.
Yes, and afterwards I'm going to go research as well.
Okay. I'll take a society check for shopping from Libbiel. I'm
taking Daegron with me because Daegron will know the best swill. Also, can carry it for Libby.
Okay. Yeah, give me a society check or any sort of no, society's the best one for that, I think.
My aid with athletics.
For carrying. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
And this no for that as well. Okay. So yeah, you have found the type of alcohol you're wanting to find. Which sounds like it is as cheap as you can go without being just pure fire water. You kind of still wanted wine, not moonshine, but you wanted the cheap stuff. Is that right?
Yeah, I want something for people to be able to just drink and drink and drink. And after the discussions, we can all have a lot more of a casual setting.
Okay. And Daegron was easily able to handle the multiple jugs, barrels, all kinds of an assortment of things that you're coming back with. Dezi.
Yeah, I think he would, when Libby was picking stuff out, he would go, Libbiel, make sure you get some more firewater-esque things. There's going to be, sounds like there might be some adventuring types might win some graces if we aren't overly frilly.
Oh,
Really
fine. I think we're gonna have to go to like the really awful parts of this city. I mean, there's always something, right?
Oh, I'm sure they make spirits here besides wine that aren't quite made in poor conditions. I haven't seen anything here that was that dirty compared to plenty of the places I saw in Chakagoth. But let's search and then yeah, I think they would probably find it with a 34 on that.
Yeah, you're going to find it. It's going to take some time. You're going around to a couple different places to not knowing exactly who's showing up, but you've heard there's some, high merchants. There are some probably rebel soldiers, some sailor types, and who knows what Ustalav is sending, or Resmiran for that matter. Both of those are kind of wild cards from your perspective. But the Drumo, Malthun, and Nirmathos definitely feel like they could be all sorts from either high society down to the real common folk. So you're procuring a good mix of drink, probably above and beyond what the manor would have, which was mainly, fancy elven wines. So you're getting a good mix. While you're doing that, Dezi is reading. What are you trying to answer?
I mean, I'm just doing this can be just for flavor too, but I want to know kind of more about these nations and how they view the Whispering Tyrant, basically, if there's any literature on that here.
Okay.
And the arrival, the Isle of Terror. So.
Yep. Give me a whichever knowledge check you want to use for that. I'm fine with.
I feel like, yeah. Is this a recall? Can I use scholarly recollection here?
Sure.
Okay. Do that, and I guess this is probably religion.
Yeah, you looking through this, the literature typically is older and wouldn't have too much detail on this. So you're finding some more recent, maybe collections of letters or policy statements from countries that have been not bound into books yet, but are being cataloged. And the main things that jump out, of course, is no one seems to like the Whispering Tyrant. That's not really a surprise. All the nations are a little on edge. The ones that maybe stand out as the most different, of course, the Knights of Last Wall are very militant about wanting to attack and take back both the Gravelands and defeat the Whispering Tyrant. All the other ones seem more or less more worried about defense and maybe not kicking the sleeping dog of the Whispering Tyrant and trying to just outlast the problems. The ones that are a little bit harder to get a read on, Ustalav does not seem to be friends with the Whispering Tyrant, in spite of possibly the much rumors about various undead or vampire leaders. None of that seems to be implying any form of alliance or even camaraderie. So it does not seem like they are on the same side. And then Resmiran, you've seen rumors that Resmiran may already have a non-aggression pact with the Whispering Tyrant, along with possibly shipping off their dead. That one's not been confirmed, but that is the rumor that's making the rounds. Any follow-up questions on that info dump?
No, I think that seems pretty good. I think I've got all that. It was certainly useful, so glad I did it.
And Vanarel, a couple of hours in the evening back at Green Gold. What would you like to do?
So I had the same kind of thought as Dezi, but I know I don't have the same capabilities as Dezi. So I was going to try and just specifically focus on Nirmathas, and I guess maybe by extension Malthun, trying to look at what that's all about, because that feels like it's like the small kind of forested communities sort of thing kind of speaks to a part of who I am. So I was thinking maybe I could find some sort of like some information there I could use as an inroad with them, because it seems, I mean, obviously, everyone's going to have their problems, but Multhun and Nirmathas specifically are going to have like daggers staring across the room at each other.
Mm-hmm. You can give me a check on that.
So I was thinking more like a nature sort of thing,
Okay.
perhaps. Just kind of working with like the geography of the place.
Sure. I'll take that.
So, there.
You're not getting a lot. You do know that Nirmathos seems to be a land rich in wood. That might even be why Multhun is so focused on getting them back. Multhun has been a naval force. Sure, it's only a lake, but it's still a naval force. And some of the best masts and other wood for building ships comes from the Nirmathos forests. So you know that's part of what's going on.
Dezi would share the information that he learned with everyone, in particular with respect to Razmir and the non-aggression pact with the Whispering Tyrant and possibly a shipping deal. Just, probably this is something not to mention out loud, but, be on your toes about it. And, other nations could also know about this and maybe have some enmity there if it's not true, or if it is true, then it'd be valid anger at it.
So the next morning comes. Dalamian is slightly frantic, making sure you're all well dressed in the same attire you used for the court. She does hand you all a small green crystal wrapped in thorny vines as like a badge of Kyonin to wear on your clothing. It's non-magic, it is just a symbol. And she's also making sure that you're ready to head to the meeting place for the kickoff of this meeting, which is not where you are. It's over at the Callistrian Temple. And let me put you on that map for now. Let me put you on a place you can get visibility. Why did that not do what I wanted it to do? Let me try that again. There we go. Okay, so you are now in one of the rooms of the Temple of Callistria that's being used as this kickoff. And let me get all the delegates visible. I'm not going to have them come in one at a time. I will introduce them all. Yep, okay, they're all on the map. Okay. First, also, I have a handout that one of you will need to read in a little bit. So let me, I'll just share it to everyone. You can pick who's going to read it. But in the meantime, I'm going to do some other stuff. I'm going to close this from the stream view, though. There we go. So you are all ushered into this building. And you're at the kind of head table, along with Dalamian, and all the delegates are scattered around. You can see it is Druma, Multhun, Nirmathos, Lastwall, Ustalav, Razmirin. And I'll share pictures of each delegate shortly. At the center of the room sits a circular table upon which is placed an object under a black cloth. Dalamian steps up to the table, places a parchment on it, and pulls away the cloth to reveal a grisly centerpiece, a skull carved from burnt wool wrapped in rusty chains. She then addresses all of you. This skull represents the threat we all face, the whispering tyrant who darkens the heart of Lake Encarthan. Our nations sit around this threat, just as we do in this room. If we are to survive, we must unite. I hope we'll be able to come to an accord in the days to come. At each of your tables, you will find your nation's flag, and at any time over the coming days, where a representative may place it here on this table to represent their pledge to return home and work with their leaders to join Kyonin to stand against this threat. She pauses and then looks at the four of you. Queen Talendia has already pledged to stand against the Whispering Tyrant. I hope in 5 days' time her flag will not stand alone on this table. And now, let me introduce Kyonin's heroic emissaries. She does have you each stand one at a time, and she introduces you with the form of address you introduced yourself with at the banquet. She definitely hypes up all of your achievements, both in fighting Urkshul and here on repelling the undead dragon Grave Knight invasion. It does feel like she is really hyping you all up, but nothing she is saying is overstated. She is sticking strictly to the truth, and you're starting to realize how amazing some of the things you've done are when they actually are stated this boldly. The other 6 people they started off a little puzzled over why the 4 of you were here, but as time went on, they seem also a little impressed, and it does feel like there's a sense of, a willingness to work in this room. Aside from maybe one person looks very bored. That would be, I have his name wrong somewhere. Clavance, who is the delegate from Ustalav. He looks a little bored, but we'll go into a little bit more about that later. We would like one of you, though, to read the Queen's greeting.
Sure, I'm happy to do it. On behalf of the people of Kyonin, I welcome you to our land and to this critical council, one that might very well decide the future of our world. Let me thank you for coming and representing your people at this important juncture. I am sure your journey presented inconveniences. Your dedication to attending is but the first step in what is to be an even greater journey, one filled with immeasurable risks, if we are to achieve victory over an ancient and dreadful foe. What you do in the coming days will lay the groundwork for our first steps towards this victory. Steps I hope will lead us to a future of partnership and mutual aid. Kyonin's people are known for their self-reliance, but in this matter we must stand side by side, for only together shall we have any chance of success. The tyrant's power grows, but it is not absolute. Together we can break him. Together we can put him back into the ground where he belongs, this time for good. I know that we each have our differences, but I implore you to set them aside and look beyond them. We must fix our eyes ahead, plan for the worst, yet hope for the best. It all starts here with you. Every living soul around Lake Encarthan is counting on us, and the sanctity of life and death alike is in our hands. May wisdom and compassion guide you. Queen Talandria Adasseril.
And I need a diplomacy or performance check for how well you read that. You feel that was only a modest success. That was a failure, not a critical failure. If you have a hero point and want to reroll, you may. If not, you can just let it stand.
I will re-roll. It seems a good idea to get this off to to a good start. I'll use Halfling Luck since I can, and it doesn't hurt to use it.
That gets it up to a success, which means you'll be starting off this with 1 point with each of the delegates already. They're all kind of impressed with you. I think you can all see the number in the top corner of their token. So that is how favorable they are to you at the moment. So that got 1 point with everyone. They will now introduce themselves to you all. While this is going on, each of you will get a chance to roll a perception check to kind of learn more about who they are and what they are doing. So we will go around the table, starting with Druma. First, we have Druma's banner. And the lady representing Druma, a Chalzo Rove, dressed almost entirely in white on the outside facing aspect of the garb, but the bright colors inside on the inner surface of that. Lots of gems and jewelry, very long, probably elbow-length white gloves. You would all know that the prophets of Callistride do not believe in physical contact with those who are not of their faith. And they will always be wearing these immaculate white robes both to set themselves apart and to tell if they ever have to cleanse themselves. So she is the first to speak. She announces herself as Chalzo Rove, Prophet of Callistride, and many people here already know her due to her ongoing campaign against the pirates of Lake Encarthan. Faced with the whispering tyrant's threat, she pledges that Druma will do all in its power to stand against him. As she approaches the center table to sign, there is a paper on the center table that's saying, "We are here to negotiate in good faith." This is not signing the actual alliance yet, but this is the kickoff and non-disclosure agreement for the duration of the council. And so she's walking up to sign that, and she looks at the four of you and compliments you all on your heroics on Lantana Beach before asking them about the tailors who made their armor and clothing. And she offers to connect you with some of the finest tailors and smiths in all of Avestan should you need it. And I can take a perception check from everyone.
Can I do my
Sure.
biography roll?
Yes.
Okay. Just to save some time.
I mean, that certainly seemed back-ended, but maybe it wasn't.
What seemed back-ended? Sorry. Oh, no.
Backhanded. It was like, oh, nice robes. Let me connect you with some of my tailors who are the best in the land.
So
maybe it's wrong.
Your impression from that is that she's acknowledging that you have good clothes, but she can get you better. She's not trying to say what you have is bad, but she's acknowledging that maybe you have a good enough eye to be worthy of even better.
Okay, fair.
And everyone but Daegron can give me a society check as well. You notice that...
Doesn't have society anyway.
The three of you, not Daegron, notices that Chalzo is giving a very pointed look to the Resmiran table when she was mentioning pirates. And Libbiel, you do know that Chalzo is known for her crusade against the faith barges of the living god, most of which were little more than pirates hiding behind faith. So she's already a little bit skeptical of the Resmiran presence here. And with your biography thing there as well, Libbiel, it's kind of what you see. You can tell she is, a middle-aged woman wearing the traditional robes of the Callistrocracy and the long white gloves. All of this matches exactly what you would expect. She does have some gems and jewelry showing off her wealth. It's not flashy or gaudy, but it's just this side of that. It's you do know, though, that is proper for them, even though they try to not be too much about conspicuous consumption. They still also want to show off their wealth, so it's always a fine line for them. But she is, very well put together here. For someone who's known for being a pirate hunter, she does not look it. But from the biographical eye, you can tell both these aspects are who she is. There's nothing misleading about her presence here.
She's dressed tastefully for her culture, not she?
It does seem like the Callistrocracy within Druma tends to be much more tasteful than the Callistrocracy who leaves Druma. So the people at the center of power seem to have maybe a little bit more temperance in their show of wealth, while those who leave maybe are leaving because they want to flaunt their wealth more and don't fit in. Up next, we have Malthun with a very, very simple military banner. And the speaker for Malthun, wearing full military dress, the representative from Malthun is the infamous General Lord Walder Reskett. He states, "Malthun's been at war for many years now, but that has only hardened our nation's resolve and strengthened the power of our navy. Nothing the Whispering Tyrant can do can touch our ships. Our cannons are mighty, our ships are mighty." And as he talks, he clearly turns to speak to 5 of the fellow delegates, or 6 counting herself, but he never once looks at Nirmathos. He does approach the center table to sign the initial good faith dealing agreement and congratulates you four on the victory at Latana Beach, especially praising the tactical decisions you made to to bombard the shadows offshore and keep the dragon from getting anywhere close to the catapults. While the method of taking the dragon down might have been foolhardy, I still can't refute how effective it was, and honestly, any soldier like that under my command would be getting a medal. And we can take a perception check from all of you on what else you see about him. Okay. Libbiel. So everyone here got a regular success, and Libbiel got a crit. And you can tell that he is completely ignoring Nirmathos, which is kind of obvious. But Libbiel can tell that he is definitely viewing himself as highly important here. And you think when it comes time to have individual meetings, you definitely need to meet with him before you meet with Nirmathos, possibly even meeting with him first in order to soothe his ego a bit. And you can tell that he is, he's actually the commander of Multhun's navy, and might even be a little higher ranked as a result than most of the other delegates here. It's a little surprising he was chosen when they were trying to keep lower profile people.
Vanarel, maybe you're a good one to meet with him.
I'm on it.
We need to stroke his ego. Make sure you talk badly about Nirmathos as well. But, in a way where you're not committing anything, please.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Vanarel. Subtlety, you're good at that, right?
Absolutely.
Up next,
Smooth operator Vanarel.
Up next, we have Nirmathos delegate with their banner of the sword behind a tree on a green field. And the representative is this lady here, a slightly older looking just woman, looks almost like a peasant compared to everyone else in this room, does not look anywhere near as fancy as either Chalzo or as military as Walder. She stands up, introduces herself as Eromina Yazgan, the Speaker of the Heart from the free city of Tamrin. While I cannot speak for every town and village in Nirmathos, I know that the brave and fearless people of her home are quite experienced at defeating invaders, and will do whatever it takes to stop Tar-Baphon. I have the full support of the Forest Marshal and the Knights of the Everflame. And as she walks up to sign the declaration, she is much more quiet than the rest. She's kind of not whispering to you, but she's not making a big deal of her address to you. And I must stress to you, you must instill a sense of community among the nations if there is any hope for this to succeed. Open hostility between any of us will make this all incredibly difficult. And you can take a perception check on her as well. Okay. All but Daegron. Well, let's see, actually. Daegron has... Yeah. Okay. All but Daegron with Libbiel and Vanarel getting crits here. It is essentially common knowledge that Nirmathos and Multhun are currently at war after a period of increased hostility. And you know that the Knights of the Everflame that she's mentioned are a newly formed order in northern Nirmathos that is dedicated to stopping the advance of the undead from the now haunted Gravelands. So they are already battling the Whispering Tyrant as we speak, basically. So they might have the biggest need for all of these negotiations to succeed. Up next, we will have the Knights of Lastwall, with their Broken Shield of Eredin banner, and their representative is a orc wearing glasses named Glorian the Glad, emissary of the Shining Sentinels. He is an orc wearing well-tailored clothing and well-fitted leather armor. While Lastwall may have been the first to fall, it was also the first to stand in defiance against the Whispering Tyrant. And my forces? We are all here to swear that we will stand by any who take up arms against the undead menace. And he approaches with a very pleasant smile and offers handshakes and maybe a little bit of a back clap on some of you all who look heartier. And thanks for repelling those undead and helping us figure out what works well against them. I should mention, if you ever see yourselves looking for a purpose or a quest, the Knights of Lastwall are always looking for soldiers and adventurers. If they can take an old raider like me, they can take anyone. And perception checks on him. And basically everyone here, you can tell he is very distracted from the delegate from Ustalav. You can tell he's worried about his health. And you think there's a slight sense of anger in his glance as well when he looks at Clavance.
Sorry, he's worried about his own health or
No.
Glavan's?
Clavance's health. Maybe as a thinly veiled insult or concern that Clavance might be undead. Next up,
It's a little on the nose.
we do have the Ustalavic banner, a black tower amid red stars on a purple background. And Clavance will introduce himself. A shockingly pale, gaunt man wearing an impeccably tailored suit rises to greet you all. I am Clavance Ordrati. Yes, that Ordrati. We at Ustalav are no strangers to the deprivation of Tarbafan, and we have no desire to return to the old ways, as it were. My uncle will consider any offers to secure Ustalav's rightful place in the region. And as he approaches to sign the kickoff document, he has a very haughty smile as he approaches, and makes almost no small talk like the others have with you, other than you have your work cut out for you to get this rabble to agree to anything. And I can take perception checks on him. He is clearly the youngest of the delegates here, or at least visibly. You never know ages as such things. And appears to be the least experienced in politics. Dezi and Libbiel can both tell that he is bored by this and wants to return home. You do know that Clavance is the youngest nephew of Prince Adad Oranti, the current ruler of Ustalav. So he does seem to have a legitimate claim to his family name. You don't think anyone would fake that. So he is a cousin or a nephew of the ruler. But you also know it's a fairly distant cousin. Probably about as far down the line of succession as you can be and still claim to be in the line. But you would also know it's probably a very bad idea to ever mention that to him. And finally, we have the delegate from Razmirin. We have their banner. A purple and yellow field with a mask floating in the middle. And the delegate here is a masked figure, blue robe and a silver mask. A well-built figure wearing a blue robe and the silver mask of Razmir, which completely conceals his figure. As he rises, almost everyone in the room, well, aside from Clavance, who looks bored, looks at him with a mixture of suspicion and doubt. The man speaks clearly, despite the mask. Honored emissaries at this most auspicious gathering, I thank Kyonin for hosting this event. I am Alzarius, priest of the 12th step, Mask of Razmir. There are no current hostilities between the living god and the whispering tyrant, but the living god is no friend of death. He wishes only for peace and prosperity for all of his people. The living god is dedicated to the people of Lake Encarthan and wishes to show his love for all through the defiance of this threat. And by the time he steps away, it probably does feel like you've been forced to sit through a slightly formal sermon in honor of the living god. But he does walk up to the table, signs, gives you all a slight bow, introducing himself again as Alzarius, and I must congratulate you on your performance this well. And he does speak knowing he offers a traditional greeting to Dezi based on your faith. May the road welcome you home as you travel your way. And we can take perception checks from everyone.
Well, safe passages to you, and may your journey be long.
So this time, Daegron and Dezi were the two who he's much harder to read than the others, and you felt like the mask does help hide his true intentions, but Daegron and Dezi, you see something that you think can something about the name rings a bell, and you can give me a follow-on society check.
Is this recall knowledge?
Yes.
I will burn to roll twice.
Okay.
I'm going to go on a limb and say Daegron probably doesn't know.
Yeah, Daegron, you don't know. You thought you heard the name, but now you're thinking it was what someone was shouting at the bar yesterday when ordering wine or something. You don't remember. Dezi, yes, you have heard the name, and you know he is probably the second highest priest in the town of Zer. So he is very high up in the doings of Razmir.
So, two of these factions didn't follow the rules.
I was just going to say, we got two rule breaker factions here who didn't send low levels.
Well, it depends. It depends how low leveled he is. He is only 12th step. He's not first step. He's not in the top probably 40 of the priests of the nation, but he is pretty high up. And the general's probably the furthest off.
You want to be on lower steps, not higher steps?
I believe that's how it works. I think
Okay.
The 22nd step is the first step, and they get progressively harder as you go up. If I remember my Razmiran lore correctly, I believe the first step is Razmir himself. After the introductions conclude, Dalmian informs the schedule for the next several days. The next 3 days have been set aside for small councils, during which groups will meet with no more than 2 other delegates per day to privately discuss challenges and opportunities with the goal of establishing a web of agreements. Each evening has a special event, a tour of the temple tomorrow, a garden party on the 3rd night, and a trip into town to take place in the Founder's Legacy on the final night, before we reconvene on the 5th day to discuss any broadly agreed upon measures and sign any relevant treaties. Refreshments are served back at the estate's gardens. There will be long days ahead, and everyone should take this opportunity to get some rest. Everyone is then basically escorted back to the manor houses. None of them are willing to discuss with the other groups yet. You can tell they're all formulating their plans and thinking about what is going to happen next. And we're using a more abstract map for this one to help keep things straight. We have all the countries. We have all of the named individuals here. I did misspell Clavance instead of as Clarence, so he is now Clarence. And so each day, so there's 3 days of these small councils. On each council, in the morning and the afternoon, you get to pick one country to talk to. and we'll have some role play scenes with them, find out what they want to agree to, what they want to bargain, and you'll start making deals. So you'll have 6 chances total to meet with people. Yes, there also are 6 countries. That means you might need to be creative at using of the evening events. There is the temple tour, there is the garden party, and there is the city festival, that you also have chance to meet with them and talk with them some there outside of these formal settings. But some people might be more or less susceptible to formal versus non-formal. And while talking to each person, you're going to get, it's about a 4-hour negotiation going on. It's going to be represented by mainly 2 dice rolls per player during that time period. So that's kind of the scale of how this is going to work. And who would you like to talk to first?
We were threatened to advance for our life not to do Multhune first by the narration, so let's go with that.
Yeah, it probably makes sense to do Multhune first, just to
Yes.
appease,
works for me.
and probably make sure you use his title, Lord Walder.
Let's not keep the commander waiting.
So you...
Well,
go ahead.
what is it? General Lord is, I think, his title, correct?
General Lord Walder Reskett. Yes. Yes, so when you arrive at the lodge that's being used by them, there are soldiers stationed outside who escort you into a parlor to wait for Walder to conclude some other affairs. Apparently, he is still in command of the Navy and has to deal with daily dispatches and orders to keep things going. Inside the parlor are comfortable chairs arranged around a table with a map of the region. And you can very clearly see that there is no name Nirmathos on this map. Instead, the entire region is labeled Multhune, with a number of northern regions being marked as Open Revolt.
I mean, at least they're not X'd out. I suppose that's good.
It's something.
I think the ultimate insult was just to be remove them from the map. But,
Some time has gone by. You can tell that there's still... You hear running feet coming and going, dispatches coming in and out of the building. It's been about 30 minutes.
How much time do we have in each of these sections?
About 4 hours.
Okay.
I think
Is there
we should
somebody
make it
waiting with
known.
us here?
There was
Yeah.
a guard outside the parlor. They were leaving you to your own devices. They're not watching you.
can I try to listen in to the conversations outside, see what's happening?
Sure. You can give me, I guess, a perception check and a stealth check for that.
I'll do the stealth first,
Sure.
and then the perception.
You can tell with your stealth check that the floorboards are creaking. You can tell enough that you would not be able to get close enough to the wall to listen in without giving yourself away.
Sounds like a job for Bumblebee.
Dezi will walk up to the door and open it to see if there's a guard stationed outside that we can maybe ask a question or two to.
He looks at you. I'm sorry. The Lord is still dealing with some pressing news from home. He'll be with you when he can.
If he'd prefer to meet later, we're happy to do that.
I am
If
afraid
he's too busy.
he will always be busy. I think he does know you're waiting, and he will be making his best effort to be with you.
I think we are best served just waiting for
Okay.
General Lord Walder's Reskin.
The guard nods.
I'll go back to waiting. Yep.
So about 75 minutes pass total, not after that first half hour. And you hear some shouting coming from upstairs, and the guard appears to bring you upstairs to meet with the General Lord. This does not influence your amount of time you actually have to discuss things with him. It is just flavor. Ah, yes. I'm sorry about the delay. Matters of state, you understand. And he is in full military regalia for this meeting. He's sitting behind a very impressive desk that must have been at this manor already, but it does look like he's become home here already, and it's covered in papers and dispatches, and you see rolled scrolls, you see bags of money, it looks like, for paying different wages for people. It does look like, yes, he kept you waiting, but it does not look like he was doing nothing while he kept you waiting.
I'm going to try the humble approach and be like, I am sure I do not understand how to run a estate like this. It probably takes great strength to be in your position.
My position here is simple. I want to see all the Lake Encarthan nations to move to a war fitting as quickly as possible. I know that won't be an easy sell. So, if you can get the majority of the other nations to agree to Articles 2, 3, and 4, I would as well. But I won't be the first to move. I need to see that they're willing to stand up for what's going on. And I will not sign Article 1 unless it is amended so that Nirmathos is omitted, so we can continue reclaiming our lands.
I think Daegron would speak up as he says that and says, well, the basis of this whole agreement starts with the first article. I see your reticence in signing such a thing, but this is to deal with Tar-Baphon, not the ongoing future of Malthun. This is a threat that must be dealt with before any individual nations. And he kind of like pauses on, I think, on that and says, any individual nation's reticence with others. We know there is a thing we're not going to agree on, but this is merely to deal with a greater threat at hand. And he's going to just try to work into it that the agreement is for this time. It's not forever.
Okay. So we can take a check here, and you each will be getting one chance for one check. We'll start with Daegron's. We'll see what everyone else's role play is going to be. And this is an influence game, so that means you're choosing between discovery or an influence on each of your turns. Discovery checks, which are, you would know the skills. That's perception, sailing lore, society, and warfare lore. This is kind of to learn what approaches will and will not work with him. Influence, you don't know what any of them are. You know that diplomacy is almost always an option, but it might be a harder DC than other things. So you can always try diplomacy blind and hope and try to get some points that way. And you also earned 4 bonus points with him already for coming to him first. That's why his counter is at 5 now. So you can roll. What would you like to roll?
I think he's going to go with intimidation in the sense of pushing forward this issue as the primary issue, and that as like a military man, he should understand that this takes far more precedence over the lands that he wants. If they're gone to Tar-Baphon, doesn't matter then. And while he's maybe being aggressive in it, I think he's someone who respects strength. So he's going to just blindly go with that.
You make some points, but our nation's sovereignty is under threat, and we must preserve it. And you can tell that you are walking a thin line there in terms of suggesting that they put aside their quarrel with Nirmathos. You think if you do that again, he's going to start disrespecting you.
I'm going to take a moment to study this man, see what I think would be the best approach with it.
Okay.
And I'm going to approach it from the angle of society.
And so you were trying to do the discovery to learn more about what will resonate with him, right? Yeah. So that will be a success. Would you like to learn, skills that would directly affect him, or would you like to learn more of the kind of approaches that that can give bonuses or penalties when talking to him.
I would like to know an approach that, if I can ask specifically for one that would let him put off the Nermathos issue for now.
You are pretty sure there is no real way to get him to stand down on that. That is going to be a sticking point for him throughout. You think that there might be ways as you get the sense that if you build up more rapport with him, there's probably ways to get him to sign the other ones. And maybe he just would not sign Article 1. He might sign Articles 2, 3, and 4 as you get more rapport with him, even if Nirmathos is involved there. But you really don't think he is likely to ever sign the first one.
Okay. I believe Dezi had something.
Yeah, I think Dezi actually, Vanarel, what do you want to do? You are the sailing lore person here, or the sailor here, I should say.
I was going to use that as my angle to try and get more of an insight on him.
I will let you lead since you are,
Okay.
more well suited to that.
All right. So Vanarel will, wait for Resket's attention to fall on him, kind of to try to play into that, wait for the officer to acknowledge you in the room sort of thing. Before just mentioning it, General Lord Resket, we've heard your stance. We fully respect that, sir, but we need to, if I may speak frankly, you have not attained the rank that you have without finding some way to lead by example. Now, I'm not asking you to go directly against what you've just stated, but I just want you to understand that for us to convince some of the others, that may take more time than we have available, and I hope you would at least consider that while you make your decision. I understand you're representing an entire nation. This is not a small ask of me to make, and I apologize if I am overstepping my bounds. Please consider that as well. And I will try to utilize the sailing lore angle on this. He is a naval commander after all.
I will let you know that is a critical fail. If you want to use a hero
Fantastic.
point, you can.
Can I do that from this?
If you can,
No,
just
he'll have
I
to
can.
reveal it.
yeah. Let me reveal it for you then.
Oh, that's a very nice one after all that. Here, try it that way.
That is. Let me see. He still seems a little prickly that you're dancing very close to telling him to ignore Nirmathos. But it did resonate just a little bit that he does understand when it comes to military operations, planning is important and open mind is important. So that will be, you were going for a discovery roll there, is that right?
Yes. Yeah, I wanted to discover something.
What were you wanting to learn about?
Something that will more directly influence him.
You know
Maybe
that
just find a path that will not take him off quite as well.
Yeah, you know that you can directly influence him with arguments based using warfare lore or sailing lore, speaking to the challenges of dealing with the Isle of Terror, exploring how the Navy could be used in the conflict, talking about vulnerabilities you saw on the plague barges that you were fighting. All those kind of things you know would directly influence him in the future.
Okay. I think Desi's going to start talking about the threats of the Whispering Tyrant, but also like speaking to the threat posed to all of these nations. But try to give the Lord General space to kind of indicate what he finds important to basically discover where we might additionally be able to persuade him.
Okay. Yes. Are you looking for
Skills, basically,
Yep.
to
society talking about his role within the Multhun military, kind of praising him, talking about how important he is? That will also work to influence him directly. And you can tell from talking to him, he is really harping on how important to him the Conquest Accord is, the final one. He really wants to see the fight being taken to the Whispering Tyrant, not all of this more defense-oriented thing. But he does recognize that most of the other countries are probably on the opposite approach, aside from maybe the Knights of Last Wall.
I would like to bring forth to him an angle.
Yep. Well, starting round 2 of this, so you can go again.
Okay. Libby is going to talk about their enemy, directly about Tarbaphon, with her demon lore. She's going to press into him the what they know about him, what his strategies are. And,
So Tarbaphon is not a demon lord, just to be clear. Tarbaphon
Really?
is an undead lich.
I thought he was a demon. All right.
you could use the society if you want. That is an open angle, right?
Just to clear things up for players here, yes, you know the adventure path is going against a demon lord. Right now, it is not.
Oh, okay.
If that was confusing, if you don't know all the
That had me confused last time.
if you
I
don't
figured
know
it out.
all the
Yeah.
Paizo names, something is going to pivot at some point. I'm not going to tell you when, and
Don't worry about it then.
but you would at least know from the player's guide that yes, this is targeting demon lords, and it's a little bit of a what's going on? Why are we talking about Tarbaphon instead? But that is intentional. So,
All right. Instead, I will tell him how the aid of the elves can bring much more firepower to hand in the arcane angle, because I know his people are about sailing and more martial classes, but I'm sure the elves have but more spellcasters around. So
he seems to be listening to that maybe more attentively than he has been throughout the rest of the time here. That seems to be resonating with him. And what are you rolling for
All right.
that?
I'm gonna roll Arcana and just talk about the way magic can be used in warfare.
Okay. I was increasing the DC on that because it's not one of the skills that he normally would respond to, but I think that made a lot of sense to me. And you rolled really, really well. So even making it 3 harder than the hardest skill on the list, you still got a critical success. So we're up. So he's listening. He is acknowledging that, no nation stands alone here. That is why we have to work together. That is why we need the different skills of the different groups. Of course, Kyonin and us, I think we are the powerhouses of the region anyways, at least when it comes to operations on the water.
Yes, and these are the roles that Kyonin has brought to the table.
Agreed, General Lord. And I know the fourth element here is the most important to you, but certainly at the beginning of any good strategy begins with securing your own and the lands around it and making sure they're well defended and before sailing off to war. So that I just want to emphasize the importance of the earlier ones. I understand you are again citing the first right now, but certainly the second and the third will will be an important part of this before we can proceed to a forthright attack. I'm going to try to influence with society, basically.
Okay. That is a fail, but does not lose you any points, but doesn't gain you any points. Once again, it felt like...
Halfling luck?
Yeah, I will allow that.
Oh, no, this is... Yeah, this is a skill check, right? So
This is a skill check. As long as you're not casting magic on the delegates, I think you're fine.
I will not do that. That seems better.
That's much better. That is a regular success. That puts him up to... Whoops, I went the wrong direction there. Up to 8 points. Yes. Well, as I said at the start, I am... Multhune will agree to sign Articles 2 and 3 as long as 3 other non-Nirmathos delegates do so. Still can't sign the non-aggression article as long as Nirmathos is included. And I have heard some rumblings from Druma. They wish to be the exclusive provider of weapons, armor, and magic. They wish to gain some funding from all of this. As long as their markup is 25% or less, we will agree to that demand as well.
Yeah, I'm making note of that. I think Daegron would kind of, as he says all this for his second round, says, well, then it agreed at least that you wish to fight. Let's discuss that more than anything else. And he's going to go over their battle with the barges and positioning of siege weapons and things along those nature of they had outriders of shadows with a mounted dragon. The ships themselves were not too sturdy. The catapults took them down in short order. And he's going to try to just discuss war tactics with warfare lore with him.
Okay.
Seeing as he's basically said they'll be there, they'll fight.
Yeah, he's definitely engrossed in this conversation with you. Probably the most engaged you've seen him.
And if it's not good because he doesn't have the highest one, I'll reroll it.
No, that was a success. He's nodding along. He's taking notes. You feel like he's even preparing dispatches to send out to his forces with some of this knowledge that you've shared to help him in further efforts. He is starting to view you all with some respect rather than just the forced duty that he has to be here to deal with this. And I think we have not had Vanarel do his second round. Is that correct?
So I was thinking we have him at, I think, the very beginning, the inkling of of respecting us. So I'm going to attempt to further influence the man by asking him, General Lebreska, if I may, at the risk of putting the cart before the horse. We've heard about your many tactics here. May I use some of what you've explained to us today as an example of what we can do to the other nations, not Nirmathas. Forgive me, not Northern Multhune, but to those who wouldn't quite normally, I think, grasp it as firmly. Razmaran, Druma, maybe Usalav. Could I use some of your tactics as an example to show them what we can do together?
Go ahead and give me your sailing lore check with a +1 bonus on that. That's still a failure.
Yep.
but not a critical failure. So at the conclusion of your 4 hours talking with General Reskett, you understand, I think, what he is willing to barge on at the moment, which is he is willing to sign. He basically is given a commitment to sign Articles 2 and 3, and likely 4. 4, you can tell, is still a little bit up in the air. It's what he wants the most, but he hasn't necessarily seen enough support that he trusts everyone to be decent when it, to be strong enough when it comes. But he's willing to sign 2 and 3 as soon as 3 other non-Nirmathos delegates agree to sign it. And he has agreed to to buy from Druma if that's as he's heard inklings that's going to be one of their demands, as long as the markup is 25% or less. Other than that, you can tell right now he is not willing to budge on signing Article 1 unless Nirmathos is removed from Article 1. He's okay if they're still included in Articles 2 and 3. If they sign those, that's fine, but he does not want Nirmathos included in Article 1 at all. And that's where we will leave the morning session. Who would you like to talk to in the afternoon?
Does it
Well,
make sense to talk to Druma to see if we can negotiate their rates?
Drima or Ustalov? I think Ustalov, so we can show we're not like trying to waste his time. Maybe.
Fane, sorry if did you say there will be time in like the more in the evening? Was that after this, or is that kind of the 2 periods, the morning and then the evening?
There's morning and evening each. There's morning and afternoon each day for the one-on-one or the 4-on-1 effectively meetings, and then there's a planned event that involves most of them and the 4 of you mingling at special events as like a third session per day effectively. That's a little different and more scripted.
Mm-hmm. He's like, he says, as you said, Libby, Ustalov, he doesn't seem too interested in negotiations. Maybe we went and got that liquor, fly him later and see if we can get him into a better place before we have a one-on-one with him.
I can see the
But
logic.
I can see the merit in bringing them in early. It's just a thought.
I think we need to avoid Nirmathos today, at least. That'll have to be a different day. So either Druma or Lastwall, I think.
Druma?
I think Druma's probably the play.
Okay.
It's something we already have an inside angle on a little bit. We know that they sort of want to play war profiteer a bit.
Okay, so you're going over to speak with the Druma delegation. And 1 second, I closed. There we go. Got my. You arrive to meet with Chauzo. You're greeted by her servant, Kefra, who asks them to enter a private study to clean and purify yourselves before the meeting. Kefra explains that for this in-person meeting, the prophet of Kelistrade would prefer to conduct business free from the distraction of filth and foul odors. The study is divided up with screens, giving each of you a private bathing area with mildly floral-scented soaps and clean white robes. In addition, Kefra offers each of you the chance to purchase an array of lotions to cleanse and revitalize the skin. The most inexpensive lotion, the Silver Balm, is 1 gold piece, while the most expensive, the Platinum Unguent, is 20 gold pieces, which gives the skin a slightly metallic sheen.
What for my skin? Dagger's just confused by it.
I look at my all of 3 gold. Yeah, I'll take the 1 gold one.
Unfortunately, after purchasing these nice clothing, I no longer have the gold to purchase your 20 GP lotions here.
Dezi, if it works for you, I can cover it.
Oh no, it's okay.
I just don't understand this.
This is more formal than I'm used to too, but it's their custom. Still, I don't think I can afford the 20 gold piece, and I don't really see a huge need for it. So
you said it makes me shiny. Sure, he'll buy the 21.
Okay, so I think
he doesn't know.
Have I heard 2 buying the cheap one, 1 buying the expensive one so far? Is that correct?
Yeah, and Vanarel is also going to become shiny. Between like shiny skin, shiny clothes, this is a whole new ranger.
So the four of you spend
Uh,
some time getting cleaned up and dressed into your white robes here, and you're escorted upstairs to Chaozo Rove's chamber. The room is divided into two halves, maybe about 6 feet between two sets of low tables. The four of you might be slightly crammed behind your one table, and she's on the far side of the room, maybe 10 feet away behind her own table. A gloved servant is on hand to pass documents or notes back and forth between the two tables. And while at first this does appear a little off-putting and a little uncomfortable, she is quite pleasant and welcoming. Oh, welcome, welcome. Thank you for coming here. Oh, would you like some tea?
yes, I would love some.
And
Sure.
a very
Thank you.
nice kind of floral white style tea is being served here. You can tell it's very delicate. It's probably very expensive leaves that have been brought across here from Tinja, and it is good tea. And shortly after the
Uh, I think Livy's more of a coffee person, so I guess I need to roll a deception to make sure she doesn't make a face.
and go ahead and roll your deception for that.
Uh, please, Livy.
You did well. You did well. You managed to hide the fact that you wanted something different. As soon as the tea has been consumed, she does jump straight into the main talk here. This conflict is going to need arms, armor, and magic if it is to succeed, and we would like assurances that we will be the primary source of such needs, serving as a bartering point for the Lake Encarthan nations in the broader Inner Sea region. We have well-protected trade routes through Iskar and Andoran, offering us very safe and secure supply lines, and we have trade pacts in place with the dwarves of the Five King Mountains. As such, we will impose only a 50% markup on the original value. That is still quite the discount from the usual 100% markup that such goods would have.
I mean, certainly with the amount of goods that we're talking here, that and the need for these goods is quite high. I understand you have the ability to impose such a high markup. Perhaps something lower would both smooth over things over with the other people and make you seem generous and encourage future trade. Have you considered lower rates might yield higher returns?
What type of
I
skill are you
guess-
trying to make there?
I mean, clearly society.
Okay.
Um,
I take a society roll. Is this
Okay.
for influence or discovery purposes?
I am gonna say I feel like this is more influence, even though
Okay.
we don't know if
Yep.
society works.
Okay. That you can tell she is a very skilled bargainer. You probably know that she knows she's going to have to bargain down, but at present, you have not made a good enough case for her to do so.
I will hero point.
Okay.
Dezi making use of all those rerolls.
Oh, that will be one success. So she started off with 1 point from your good presentation at the welcoming, because you all came here well dressed, and at least two of you, and all of you purchased lotions, but not all purchased the best. You got 2 more bonus points, and 1 point from your check there. Yes, we will sign the non-aggression pact immediately. There's no question about that. That we know is, I guess we could call it table stakes here. The Mutual Aid Alliance, I believe your Article 2, we will sign, but only under the condition that we are the primary source of arms, armor, and weaponry for the nations. And I cannot budge on the 50% markup at this point. Who is going next? What argument are you
Um,
making? What observations are you making?
I think I want to study this. Um, Try to like fact check whether or not this is sort of like the usual kind of deal someone would make during this sort of wartime, I guess. So I'm gonna like feel her out with society to do some discovery.
Sure.
See how we could convince her down, I guess.
Yeah. So you definitely think something here is a little off. As you said, this might be a little more aggressive than you would expect someone to be in this situation. Um, are you trying to learn a skill or tactics with her?
A tactics, I think.
Um, so you do know that she has a weakness to shows of wealth. So if you are flaunting if you're flaunting your own wealth in ways that might impress her and make her think that you are, more knowledgeable than you actually are on a given role. And the other part of what you were trying to just discover, you do think she might be a little, she is new to this negotiation thing. She is much more used to business. So she might be taking an overly aggressive bargaining stance because that's what she is used to, and a little less used to the give and take of nation level negotiations.
Okay.
I'm just trying to decide what would be a good tack to take with her for Daegron. He doesn't really fit into those roles exactly.
You have
Vanarel, you
some
got any ideas?
expensive gear. I'm just
You
saying.
can always just observe if your perception is reasonable too, right?
Yeah, perception always works to try to learn more about people.
Yeah, I think that might be it then. During this, at least in this initial talk, seeing as he feels a little out of depth with this person, he's going to observe when Dezi and Libbiel are talking, and kind of see if he can pick up anything on that regard.
Yeah, you're not seeing anything. She does have a very good poker face about this. You can tell she is used to doing trade deals. She doesn't want to give anything away. The only thing she's giving away is that she might be a little too aggressive. You can tell that she probably knows that as well, but she has not backed down at this point. Vanarel.
Vanarel, I think, is going to try to kind of file the edges off of Chalzo's harsh first demand, I guess would be the right term for it. The insistence of being the primary supplier of armor and weapons and such, I don't think is the problem, but the price, while you are fully correct, is generally lower than what is the norm. That may only work for a fraction of the other countries. Razmaran would certainly understand. Perhaps Ustalav. I can't really make much of Ustalav. I don't know what you might have heard. But as for the other nations that are, well, they're known more for action first. Certainly, Multhun, Last Wall has literally made it their mission to become action first, and I don't know if they would want to spend the time trying to drum up the extra funds when they could just throw themselves headlong against this evil that we all are facing. If there were a way for us to bring your offer to them, perhaps initially lower, but maybe raise it over time, that would be something for you to work out. And we would certainly be willing to bring that to them as well. I was trying to stay diplomatic with the whole you're
Okay.
too
Yep.
pricey.
Sure. You can roll diplomacy on that.
Okay. And this was to my goal is to again to try and discover something here. So.
Okay. Yes. So, what would you like to skills or tactics with her?
Again, yeah, like what skill would work to open up?
So, mercantile lore would probably be the easiest thing to influence her with, talking
That
about
makes sense.
sales markups and trade logistics. And since I always like to give at least two things if one of them is a lore, crafting is probably the other easiest skill to work on with her, talking about just, dealing with the sourcing of items for the efforts, showing you have a knowledge of where you can get the best goods for different purposes, which things should come from Absalom, which things can come from the Five King Mountains, which things need to come from other areas, and just showing good knowledge of that will impress her. And I believe that was
Okay.
everyone for round 1. And before round 2 starts, she does have her aide puts a small like cookie wafer in front of each person as a palate cleanser between the negotiations.
I'm gonna crack mine in half and share it with Thea, of course.
The servant is ready with a small brush to get any of the crumbs off before they go astray.
I just going to make it go away with prestidigitation, which I don't have added to me, but I was thinking about changing my spells for the day, and I would have probably selected much more social skills like that one. But we didn't do a rest or anything, so I didn't bother.
If no one else has anything,
I would
Libby, you
like
wanna go first?
actually probably to go because I have an approach I think that will
Yeah, go
really,
for it.
really work. So I adjust the crown on my head, the crown of witchcraft, and say, I got this wondrous crown from the Queen of the Elves the other day, and I'm going to present it to her. Look at the craftsmanship of this crown. Um, maybe maybe if you're not so interested in coming to the table with everybody else, perhaps we could. So I'm going to hit her with a crafting and
Okay.
show off the crafting that the elves can
Yep,
bring
you
to
can
the
put a
table.
+2 on that.
Okay. Um, I didn't hit a +2.
Okay,
Whoops.
I'll put a +2 on that. Let's see, against the crafting DC, that is a critical success. Yes, yes, we can bring it down to 40% at this point. I think you're right. We
Only
must
40.
only 40 for now. Maybe there were other reasons we could go lower, but 40% is already quite the reduction from the usual price.
Yeah, I think Daegron will follow up then after Libbiel, and he says, "Well, I may not be able to talk logistics and the finer terms of your mercantile businesses. I do know arms and armor," and he kind of like lays his his axe with his new +2 rune in it on the table, and says, "Well, if we are going to discuss the payments and how much things are going to be, 40%, you say, well, we would need some examples of some arms and armor and who they will be sourced from." And he's going to also run with a crafting, as he has a little bit in that, and see if he can maybe talk more into the specific armaments that they would be looking for en masse, and materials, and where everything's being sourced from in that regard.
Okay, crafting check is fine. No bonus. I don't think she'd
Yep.
recognize the weapon as that was a natural 1 if you want to reroll it.
Yep, I will.
I let people know the degree of success because you can double natural 1s.
Yep.
Okay, so
It's not his field.
Yep. That loses 1 point. Doesn't change the current tier at all. She does seem a little offended by the axe being dropped down the middle of the room here, and she's eyeing it carefully to make sure there's no rust or blood or dirt falling off of it on her pristine room. You can tell this is just not done here.
Oh, wouldn't that be an
understand.
insult directly to Daegron, though, because of his faith? That's all about the cleanliness of his arms and armor?
Oh, I mean, yeah, his arms and armor are, but I'm assuming she's just paranoid, and he's not a a diplomatic fellow at times.
Yeah. So
I mean, certainly, I understand your reluctance around the second two provisions here. Those were the ones that she was unsure about, correct?
it's less that she's unsure about. It is more that she is using them as a bargaining tokens.
But you understand that, should these nations fall, getting supplies like I'll pull out my my leaf weave armor, which is +1 resilient. If it doesn't matter, that's fine. And my cold iron and silver gauntlets. I understand you have the finest craftsmanship, but you still need the raw materials for making these things. And having all these nations strong, standing together to ensure trade lines keep open and you can get things where they need to go seems important as well. I'm aiming for a crafting angle.
Sure.
Here.
That is not a success. Your
Would
last
you
hero
believe
point. Oh, that is a critical.
Yeah, there we go. Those are good hero points, so I'll take it.
Okay. So, yes. Well, I think as you get... I think there is strength in numbers. As you can get nations to agree, perhaps the rate can come down as more of them agree. I know that makes it hard to negotiate, but I can see the way to getting... I can see the way... I can see a way to us either signing 1 and 2 and dropping the markup to 25%, or signing 1, 2, and 3 and leaving the markup at 40%. I think we still have Vanarel to go this round.
Okay. Yes. All right. So I will approach Chalzo. So with all this talk of the trade routes you've mentioned, would it be permissible if we could use that information you shared with us with the other representatives to more easily convince them of how quickly they could get their equipment to them? Certainly the promise alone is one thing, but the knowledge of how, when, where, how quickly, how efficiently, that could certainly go a long way towards their consideration as well.
If you're asking to help boast or market our knowledge, I am totally fine with that. If you are asking us to reveal our secrets to them, on the other hand, I don't know if I can be behind that idea.
Absolutely not. No, your secrets are yours, and I would never think to ask to reveal that. Yeah, just simply to explain to them the efficiency of what you have and how that can benefit them.
She's nodding along, but let's see how the roll does to know if she's going to which side of this debate she's going to come down on.
Okay. I was trying to find a way to make that into crafting, but it felt way more diplomatic.
It did feel more diplomatic. I will tell you right now, diplomacy and crafting have the same DC.
Oh, well, that was my plan all along then. Probably.
Another natural one.
Good Lord.
Do you have a hero point left, or are you out?
I do.
Let me... Okay. Natural
Actually,
4.
I found a way to do it.
So that's not a critical fail, at least, though, now. So she still seems a little nervous about exactly what can you reveal of their networks to convince people without letting them just take over their networks.
Right.
She thinks there may be a way to do it, but she's not seeing it, and you weren't able to convince her well enough of what you were trying to do to make her trust it. So at the end of your 4 hours with her, you have her at the point where she is definitely agreeing to the writ of non-aggression. She is willing to sign Articles 2 at a 40% right now, and she's indicated that as soon as you get basically anyone else to agree that it's okay to buy from her at those rates, she'll be able to approve 1, 2, and 3 at the 40 or 1 and 2 at 25. So you will gain more influence with her automatically as other people agree to do business with her, is what that's implying. And so that's where you've left here. And now we are going on a temple tour. Let me put you on that map now. We get a little bit back to the map you were on before. So we're back at the Temple of Callistria. And this gentleman here, who I believe Libbiel might have met last week, is introduced as the Luminary Companion Nalora, the High Priest here of Callistria.
Yes, I do remember meeting this man
And
at the bar.
At the bar. He was the one who recognized that you were more than you seemed, and part of the group of heroes and those who were busy doing things but wanting privacy. And he thanked you for your efforts and then left you alone, as it seemed like that's what you wanted. And so right here, attendance is not mandatory, and 2 of the delegates are sitting this one out. And it just happens to be the 2 that you talked to today. Walder Reskett remains behind to exchange correspondence with Malthun, and Chauzo Rove declines the offer for religious reasons. So you're dropped off here. He meets you at the door, brings you inside. So you're actually over in this general area, so the center area of the... Oh, that's not working with the way the roofs are working here. If you want to... let me see if I can move your tokens for you. I thought I had you... What if I fold you into the... Let's make you go spinning across the map. There we go. We'll just use... For now, we'll just use the... So he starts you off here inside... Oh, that's not... There we go. I have to keep the mouse over the screen. Start off, he explains a bit about Callistria, the goddess of passions tied to the heart, ranging from the carnal desires to the need for vengeance when one has been wrong. In Callistria, Nelora goes on to explain, all those passions have an outlet, and at all her temples, those passions are fulfilled. As he's explaining these tenets, he's leading you from the entrance into the central cathedral, a domed ceiling where there are thousands of wasps painted in varying shades, but taken together they form the image of Callistria's smiling face. From here, he leads you east into an area... Oh, I need to... Okay. I need to be bouncing back and forth between different windows. Here we go. To an area that looks more like a tavern. There's many curtained booths, some of which are occupied. Here you can get wine and mead, but please don't disturb the guest in the curtain areas behind. They are indisposed at present. And further off, there is another hall with even more private rooms featuring beds and assorted other items, and keeps leading you further around the temple. Let's see, do it this way. So these are all the small private rooms. I don't really know why he thinks he has to show you that they exist, but he does. And then back to some back to the main area here, showing off the multiple shrines to the different aspects of Callistria. We have places for the business of love, trickery, and vengeance are plotted, before ending back up in the main sanctum hall where you had your first meeting here. He seems very pleased with himself for showing off all the aspects of the temple and how all kinds of desire can be accommodated here. And then, and please, feel free to make yourself at home in the tavern or the private rooms should you need special attention. And if you have any questions, I'll be back in the tavern as well. So he did the quick tour, a little bit of a sales pitch for various services. Whoops, I'm moving people who should not be being moved. Let me fix that. A little bit of a sales pitch for some of the services they offer, and then otherwise lead you to entertain yourself with the rest of the staff. And at this point, Alzarius looks like he is about to leave right away. He's seen the tour of the temple, and he has no desire for any of the events going on here. So you can make small talk with any of Eromina, Glorian, or Clavance while you're here.
I'll take the bullet for Clavance. Anyone else want to split off and take the others?
I might head
Yeah, I'll
to
talk to
Glorian. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I'll go with Dezi.
Okay.
Okay. Actually, let me put them all on this map. That'll make it a little easier for me. So we need Eromina, we need Clarence, and we need Glorian. And then I'll redeploy you out of the map. So go ahead and put yourselves, we'll put them each at a different table. And you can put yourselves at the table with one of them. Whoever you want to talk to.
I'm not sure if I put the token there, but
Vanarel, are you okay with potentially chatting up Aramina?
I am, yes. I was just
Okay.
getting on the correct tool to actually select my token again.
Okay. Yes, so all three here are seeming to enjoy the time at the tavern. Aramina and Glorian both look like they are used to drinking. They might not be quite as used to some of the other services this tavern seems to be implying that they offer. And they probably don't drink to excess too much. Where Clavance is definitely going through the wine rather quickly and critiquing them each and saying none of it compares to his own private stash. He has better stuff back at home, but this is still better than having to pay for it, or because I guess it is comp tier. But he's being a little haughty and overbearing, but he is definitely drinking a lot. Let's start with Vanarel talking to Eromina. What are you wanting to talk to her about?
Well, we finally get a chance to talk with her at the end of the day. I'm just going to start by asking her, like, who had she spoken with, and how does she feel about the kind of testing the feel of the other representatives? Like, how optimistic do you feel about this?
I spent some of the day talking with Glorian. Fine, noble knight he is. I think our Knights of the Everflame can still learn a lot from the Knights of Lastwall. Of course, many of them maybe got their start in the Knights before the Knights were shattered, and some of them joined us, and some have left, but I think we have a shared history that might serve us well. After that, I tried talking with Alzarius. I couldn't get very far. I'm a simple person, and I don't know how to read people that well, and that mask hides what little I could tell. He seems nicer than most of the Resmirans I've known, but is that just an act? I don't know. And you can give me a check with her, representing the small talk here. Alcohol lore, games lore, performance all work well, or diplomacy.
Yeah, I was just trying to just break the ice with a diplomacy type thing. I, as a sailor, I do not have a alcohol
Sorry,
lore,
I
which
messed up.
feels
I'm sorry, I messed up on that. Those are the skills you can use for whoever is the fourth person who is just entertaining and not doing small talk. I'm sorry, I got that wrong. You can actually do
Oh.
real checks with her. You know that discovery for her is perception, society, and warfare lore, and you could guess influences if you want. But you were just talking to her, she's talked about that, so it does feel like perception or society is probably what you were doing. If you had warfare lore, that works
yes.
just as well.
I don't, but that is okay. I will roll a perception.
Yes. Are you looking for tactics with her or skills?
I'll say the tactics with her. I'll try to see like exactly what. I feel like that'll give a better idea of like where she's coming from.
So you do know that, I guess, to some degree, praising their ability, the fact that praising the resiliency of the Nurmathathi soldiers, because they are, fighting on all fronts right now. They are fighting the Gravelands to the north. They are fighting Multhune to the south. They are fighting the invasions from the lake as well to their east. They are probably the most besieged of all of these nations here and are having the hardest time. They also might be the smallest, youngest nation here, and they're still trying to contribute. They seem to have the highest attitude of we're all in this together. We have to help each other, and so praising that will make them easier to influence when it comes up.
Okay.
Anything else you want to say to her in this little small talk portion? There's no skill associated with this, just a little bit more role play.
Really just to thank her for coming here despite all of the adversity that her nation is facing right now. I mean, Tarbafon is obviously the biggest of them, but just to bring yourself out here to apparently to a bar inside a temple that will deter Resmirans quickly. I just thank her for making the time to come out here and do this.
She smiles and finishes her drink and heads out. You can tell she doesn't want to stay here too long, but she did want a chance to chat with some of you. So let's do the double over with Glorian next, and only one of you can do an influence check. The other, or influence or discovery. The other one can do kind of the general entertainment type check. Is what's going on here, and this bookish looking orc soldier is nursing a beer rather slowly. He's having a good time here. He's laughing at people's jokes. He does seem like he's a little out of place here as well. He from the Knights of Last Wall, they are much more at home with Iomade or Serenray, much more than Callistria. But he also was a raider before, so he might have had some past with Callistria that he at least is more comfortable here than maybe the other knights would have been. And
Daegron, do you mind if I talk undead hunting shop with him?
Yeah, you go for that, and I'll do the. I think Daegron's there just as he sees him as maybe more of a a soldier and someone who's a bit different and seeking a little more normalcy. I think he would be just entertaining and talking with him, versus actually trying to influence him in some way.
okay. What are you saying,
Do you want
Dezi?
me? Does it matter who goes? Oh, so yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to chat with you. We've obviously come up against our share of both undead and demons, but I know a lot about them. But I'd love to pick your brain and see what you know specifically about the Whispering Tyrant, but also just about combating undead and what sorts of things hurt them. basically, I'd like to try to, use religion and my knowledge of it to. I think I'm just going to go straight for influence and hope that that actually works.
Okay.
Ones galore. I have no hero points
Yep,
left.
you have no hero points. And it was not one of the possible skills. So, actually, that might be a good thing for you. Because if it's not a possible skill, I don't believe it can crit fail. So, it just is an instant fail. So, you're not losing any points with him. It seems like, in spite being one of the Knights of Last Wall, it feels like he's not one of the necessarily experts on the undead side of things. He... It sounds like he is maybe in some ways a logistics expert. Maybe that's how they're using some of his raider knowledge of how to move goods quickly through areas to resupply people. He is a soldier. He does fight, but it seems like he might have a little bit less anti-undead specialty as the average knight, and that's maybe why religion isn't working so well with him.
Sorry, Daegron, I should have let you lead there, apparently.
And
Oh, you're usually better at these things.
And Daegron is just going to try to entertain him, it sounds like, right?
Yep, that's I think generally whether diplomacy or warfare lore, just to entertain the guy, and I think talk shop for him too, with no real specific purpose behind it.
That is not going to be a success either. Not a critical failure, so not too much. It's not the critical fail, which would cause penalties. So, yeah, not much with Glorin. You've had a good evening with him. You're sharing tales, but you haven't established a rapport. Something about it just isn't quite matching up. Maybe your shared life experiences are just a touch too different so far, and you haven't found that common ground that would be needed to help find the way forward for solving this diplomatic problem. Over to Libbiel.
So I'm gonna try to feel this guy out, see an approach take with him. So what I'm going to do is open up with like, so you find all this droll and boring. Perhaps there is something that would entertain you in the city, and I expect that would be a diplomacy.
Are you trying to discover stuff about him, or are you trying to influence him?
I'm trying to discover stuff about him.
I would say
like
society would
what
probably work better for what you were saying there then.
Yeah, something in the city that would actually interest this man. And see what his interests are, basically.
Yes. Yes, this has all been normal. Maybe this temple was interesting at first, but it is so droll. There was nothing of substance here. Everything that I won't say could have been interesting. I'm not into quite those kind of displays, but even those displays were hidden. If there had been fancier art besides that mural on the ceiling, perhaps. And the wines here, they're still just the ones I have better back home. A thicker red would have been nice. But you do get to discover. So do you want tactics with him or skills with him?
I think tactics with this man.
Flattery will always help him.
Flattery.
Proper deference to his noble stature, the fact that he views himself as, high in the, as someone who is in line to the throne, even if it is far away, acting as if that is the case, buttering him up, and to some degree probably playing along with his idle amusements. If he invites you to a wine tasting or to dance or to view art, go along with that. Don't bring up work until after that's taken some time. You can tell us what's going to work with him, at least initially. At some point, you feel that he actually might have a mind behind him. He's not just a rich playboy. But you think it's going to take some effort to get him to pay attention to things. Once he does, you think it's going to be easier, but it seems like there's going to be a barrier to get him to pay attention.
Yeah, and he's sitting across from the most interesting, like physically person. She's carrying a bee with script on it and a flower in a pot that seems really evil.
I mean,
And-
that might be why he was paying attention to you now in the first place.
Just, huh.
So, as we end this night, and before we wrap up the session, I do want to give a little bit of a sense of how things are going. This is a complicated negotiation, and I'm not sure if you have enough knowledge yet to make it useful. So I'm going to give a little bit extra of some of the things that may be at play to work out without just pulling back all the curtains here. As you've seen, each faction is going to have probably one or two demands of some kind on top of what you're trying to negotiate. You've seen that the Drumans want to be the providers of goods, and the main thing that you'll be able to negotiate with them on is gradually getting them to agree to more things and or gradually reducing the rate they're charging people. I think that one was obvious.
Yeah.
The Multhun people really want to go to war with the Whispering Tyrant, and the more you can get other people to agree to anything collective, they are on board anything as long as they feel it has critical mass. They are still against the whole Nirmathos point. They would like to have them written out of the contract as a whole. And that seems like that may be a really hard sticking point. It might come to the point, though, that they sign everything but Article 1. That is a possibility. It's not an all or nothing approach here. They could independently sign different accords. So just to know where things are standing there. But they're going to be holding out on that for a while. The other four, which you've not had a chance to talk to in too much depth, but from what you saw tonight with Vanarel, you can tell that Nirmathos, they probably need more immediate aid. They may be... You can tell they would be immediately trying to invoke Article 2 if it's enacted, due to the fact that they are currently fighting forces coming from the Gravelands. And if other countries can support them in any way beyond what's these token measures in the agreement, that's what they're going to be looking for. They're not requiring that, but that's a way to get kind of bonus points with them rather fast. In your talk with Glorian, you can tell the main thing he's interested in is making sure that if there is an invasion of the Isle of Terror, that the Knights of Lastwall are in the leadership position of kind of planning that portion of the fight. You don't think they want control over, say, the flotilla and the fleet. They understand that's kind of Multhun's thing, but they want to be the vanguard and the leaders of the actual land attack if it happens. And you did not really get a chance to talk with the delegate from Razmiran, so you have no idea what he's after here. And you don't really know what Clavance is up to either. It was a little bit opaque here. He's still kind of just playing at being a delegate here, so I don't think you learned much from him about what he may be after. But your sense is he's, as long as you can entertain him, he might agree to almost anything.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to work on him specifically.
You also think he might have actual intelligent insight into how different nations would respond to things if you can get him to care. He might be the most intelligent of the delegates here, is what you're seeing. And maybe that intelligence is just what makes him so bored here as well, plus being a spoiled brat. But that's kind of what you've learned so far, kind of to help make sure the stakes here are known. Any kind of questions to help you solidify the current state? We're not going to do any more tonight. I just want to make sure people know what the current board looks like, understand how things are going, all that kind of stuff.
So they're not staying inside the temple. We're going to go back to those manor houses, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. And they all have like a delegation with them beyond just themselves, yes?
Yes, it's varying. Some have more or less. I mean, as you saw with Multhune, they had all kinds of servants and messengers and guards. You saw that the Druma one was pretty sparse. It had about maybe 3 attendants, maybe like 1 guard, the butler, and the servant helping do stuff. You can tell that
One more.
Clavant seems to have like 40 people in tow always. You don't know if they all came with him. He might have just grabbed people from the town, but it seems like there's always a party going on at his place, even when there's supposed to be negotiations happening.
Yeah,
so it's
just
varied.
one more. W- in the terms of the game, would treating the delegations that they brought with them kindly affect their attitude?
You don't know.
Okay,
Probably
I'm
yes.
just asking if
Probably
I'm just
yes,
asking.
but you don't know. You don't know if it actually would have mechanical effects.
Okay,
You do feel in most cases treating them badly would definitely reflect bad on you, but you don't know how much favor you can curry by treating them well.
okay.
No, overall, I think it's especially at the end, just kind of setting out where they are. I think I got a general gist of those things.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Okay, so we will wrap this up for tonight, and we'll pick this back up next week.